Hi everyone, welcome to the Witching Week. Today is episode number 76. Today we're going to be looking at the Aurora, we're going to be looking at the Magick of Swans, and I'm going to show you a couple of products that I've been using this week that I am absolutely loving. So grab a cup of tea, put some incense on, get comfy, and we'll explore the Witching Week. Hi everybody, welcome to the Witching Week, episode number 76. Welcome back. I'm Wren, I'm known as the Cemetery Witch, and every Friday we get together for a cup of tea and a bit of a chinwag. I'm really sorry about last week. I know I said I would definitely be back after missing another episode. I do actually film on a Friday, so if something happens, something goes down, family crisis, technical issues, whatever, then sometimes I miss it. So I'm really sorry. This is not the witching fortnight, this is the witching week. I was really poorly on Friday as well. I woke up with the most horrendous cold, and who would have thought that a cold could kick your butt quite so much. I was poorly for about 9 days in the end, really unwell, which is just ridiculous. It was just a cold. I did think I had COVID for a while, but no, it was just a regular cold. So the last couple of weeks have really been very challenging. They've been the kind of weeks where you literally sit with your head in your hands and you're asking yourself, like, what the fuck? So yeah, I don't swear very often either. It's been a very hectic couple of weeks, and it's not showing any signs of abating. I would 100% assume that I was in Mercury retrograde with all the issues that have gone on this week, with like communication and computers and broadband and all sorts of things that have been like massively holding me back and stopping me from being really effective. So yeah, what a week. I hope you've had a much better week or a much better fortnight. Let's do tea and incense. So this week I am drinking some ashwagandha mango tea. Ashwagandha, by all accounts, this is not why I'm drinking it, but ashwagandha is really good for people with anxiety disorders, apparently. I know a couple of people that take ashwagandha and it really helps them. They take it as a supplement, but you can find it in things like tea. So this is Tipson organic ashwagandha infusions, and they do a few. There's one with ginger in, I think it's ginger and lemon with ashwagandha, and there are a couple of others that personally I wouldn't drink, but I've gone for the mango one. It's caffeine free as well, and it's organic, and I got this in Holland and Barrett. So if you take ashwagandha and you want to up your ashwagandha amount, or you want to give it a try, I don't actually know how much is in here. I'm looking, it says 5%, but I don't know what that is in terms of a dose. I'm sure it's minimal, but if you sort of like let it build up over time, then yeah, that could be really helpful for you. And we're burning some, apparently, because I actually found this in our big incense pot, so my husband's obviously put it there, so I thought I'd pinch a stick for today. But we're burning some Superior Chandan agarbatti incense, and this has been made in India. This is like a velvet packet. It's really nice, it's really tactile. So yeah, I don't actually know who makes that. I don't know if the brand is Superior Chandan or, you know, that's just what the product is, but it is an agarbatti, so it's really lovely. It's really lovely. That's what we're burning now. If any of you want to know where this is from, I can find out. I'm thinking it's probably from Dillaway in Glastonbury, because that does tend to be where we buy a lot of our incense. So I would hazard a guess that that's where he's got it. So yeah, what else is going on? Oh, the last time I filmed the Witching Week, I felt so chilled. I don't know if it's my heart meds. I don't know if it's because I've been feeling a lot better, but I felt so chilled when I recorded that, and I thought it was all like lovely and laid back. And then when I rewatched it, not that I watched myself, but when I was editing it, I realised just how flat I looked. So I was tired, I'm really tired now, but I was just, yeah, totally chilled. We're doing the witching week, we're all hanging out with a cup of tea, I'm just super laid back, super go with the flow, which is very much me, but yeah, I had no idea how flat that recording looked. So my apologies for that. Obviously I need to be a little bit brighter, a little bit more in your face for it to be worth watching. Being super chilled and laid back obviously doesn't work for YouTube, well, for me anyway. So yeah, what has been going on? What have you guys done in the last 2 weeks? How's it going? Have you been up to anything exciting? Maybe you've been on holiday. Are you getting ready for Litha? What has been going on in your world? I would love to hear. I would love to see. So after recording the Witching Week and seeing you on the Friday, which was the 10th of May, we had a very, very exciting evening, and I'm sure that many of you across the UK would have had one as well. So all day that day I was getting alerts on my Aurora app. So I've got an app on my phone called Aurora Watch UK. I think it's linked to a university from memory, and basically it gives me an idea of the geomagnetic energy or storms that are happening, and it's one of the indicators you know, to help you see the aurora. So it works on like a traffic light system. The green is not that there's going to be the aurora, it's the opposite. Green means that there's no magnetic activity. You know, it's measuring solar storms, it's measuring the particles that are present when we have the aurora. So it goes from green to yellow to amber to red, and all day long on that Friday it was pinging off red alerts. And I don't think I mentioned it in that witching week. I don't think I'd mentioned it. I hadn't really sort of tuned into it. I had noticed that it was going off all day, but as those measurements are taken hourly, you know, you could have 5 hours in a row that are red, and then when it is actually dark and it actually comes to attempting to view the aurora, you know, you're on green. So I hadn't really at that stage taken too much notice. Obviously my interest was piqued, but it carried on throughout the whole of the day. And I had read a day or two previously that there had been a huge solar storm, the biggest in 20 years. And I said to my husband, you know, there is going to be hopefully a big aurora tonight if the conditions are, you know, good. Obviously, more than anything, you need a clear sky that isn't cloudy. And of course, he's heard this, or sort of variations of this theme before, this story before, you know, it's going to be the best aurora, or there's a chance for aurora, but this had been the biggest solar storm in 20 years as a result of some solar flares, some large solar flares, which is probably what has been responsible for some of our communication issues, like with our broadband this week. It needs fixing. So yeah, we kept an eye out. We went out about 9:30, and it was too early, it was too light to see anything. We were in a field, it was getting dark, and there were some rather boisterous cows. It is mating season at the moment. May is mating season for cows. We don't know if they were being weird because of mating season, or whether it was because they could sense that something was going on, or whether it was actually both. But I'm really scared of cows. I think they're beautiful. I love them as animals, you know, in their own right, but I'm also aware of the dangers, and I get quite nervous about going into fields with cows, and if there's anything that I don't like, I'm out of there. I did not like the behaviour that I saw. Justin didn't like the behaviour that he saw. There was a lot of like screaming and a lot of charging and a lot of funny stuff. So we were in this field, we managed to get out. It was a little bit iffy, and yeah, there were other people that were turning up as well, hoping to spot the aurora, and it just wasn't dark enough. There was nothing happening, so we made our way home. We did one other stop off. I tell you all about this in my Patreon. I write a story about this, and I've actually put together some magical correspondences for the Aurora, which I've never seen anywhere online, but my experience from that night has very much helped me sort of like zone into the energy and the magic of the Aurora. So go check that out. That will be coming up in June. No, it'll be coming up end of this month, sorry. But anyway, we stopped off one other place, went home, got home about 10 o'clock, and basically we just resigned ourselves to another Friday night in on the sofa, watching the In-Betweeners, which we must have seen a million times. May or may not be your cup of tea, but always makes us laugh. Just silly and childish, and it's a good unwind from all the sort of adult issues that we are dealing with at the moment. Just resigned ourselves to the fact that we weren't going to see anything probably, or it was going to happen at like 3 o'clock in the morning and I was going to wake up to lots of amazing pictures, but I just don't have it in me to stay up that late, or to be watching all night for red alerts. But it was still on red, and it was kicking out some of the highest alerts that I've ever seen. So it seemed like the papers were going to be correct. It was also a clear night. So we got to about 11 o'clock and we're getting ready for bed. Justin's brushing his teeth, and I said to him, I think it's worth just going out. We're in the town, we're on the edge of town, but there are lights, so we're probably not going to be able to see anything, but I might just head out and have a quick look. So he said, yeah, you do that. But he actually followed me out the door immediately. We got onto the drive, we headed down toward the chapels a little bit away from the house. We've got a couple of street lamps in our road as well. We're in a very weird position where we are. There is an estate at the end of our road, but we're very much surrounded in like the school playing fields. We've got the other field that we have other burials in, and we've got an allotment opposite us. So we are, we're in such a position that it does affect our things like our internet, because we're not in the middle of a massive houses, but there is an estate at the end of the road. And we looked up and we could see these marks in the sky. Now, if you'd come out the pub drunk, or you'd come out the pub and you weren't aware what was going on, or that this solar storm had taken place, it would be very possible for you to completely miss the fact that what was in the sky was the Aurora. As time went on, we did start to see sort of like pinky bits, and there was definitely like red and green in the horizon, but you did have to look quite carefully. You had to know what you were looking for, you had to know it was happening. But there were these big sort of like pale marks in the sky that looked a bit like cloud, but when you look carefully you could see them moving a bit. So we were absolutely just blown away. We took some pictures. Our phones aren't very good, they're quite old now, wasn't really getting anything up. I dropped a text message to my neighbour Al, because me and him had been talking about the Aurora before, some months previously. In November I'd told him about the app and it kind of got him a little bit interested. He had turned the alerts off though to the app, he'd had no luck, he turned it off. I just sort of said to him, look, I'm really sorry if this wakes you, but we are currently stood in the cemetery watching the Aurora. Yeah, it's happening. So he texts back straight away like, what the fuck? Like, oh my God, where? And I said, we're in the drive, come over. So gone 11 o'clock at night, Al and his lovely partner Emma, they came over and they took loads of photos, and they came out really, really clearly without any editing or fiddling about with them at all. I've managed to get colour up on my pictures since, by editing, by fiddling with the saturation and the brightness and stuff like that. But their phones are fantastic, and so we got some really incredible shots. The biggest Aurora since 1932. So we had the biggest solar storm in 20 years, and it produced the biggest Aurora since 1932. And I've actually just got goosebumps just thinking back to that experience. Let me know in the comments if you saw it yourself. it was absolutely fantastic, wasn't it? And I think next time, if we were in a position again like that, because it always happens on a Sunday night for some reason usually, or just a night in the week, and you know, it happens at 1 o'clock in the morning or really, really late, like 11:30, and we're in bed. So this was a Friday night. We didn't have any of the kids with us. We were able to stay up late. We were up till like 1 o'clock in the morning in the end. I was absolutely hanging because I'd got this awful cold. Absolutely amazing. And we've got these beautiful pictures of the house with the Aurora above it, which I am so chuffed about. So thank you, Emma, for that. She took the photos. She said I could use them in whatever capacity. So yeah, really, really exciting. Really exciting. I really hope you guys got to see it too. That has just absolutely made my year. Forget the week, just made my year. There is apparently going to be some more to come in the next, well, it was a few days ago I read the article, about 3 or 4 days ago, and it said in the next, probably in a couple of weeks. So that sunspot that's on the sun, or the point at which the solar flares are coming off of it, we will be sort of in contact with that again. So in the next week, I think that will work out to the next week or so, week and a half. So keep an eye on the news and keep an eye perhaps on the weather, because sometimes they talk about these things there. I'd read about it online in the news, and I will give you an update perhaps, either via Instagram or maybe on here as well. I'll stick a note in the community, but if it looks like there's any possibility that we're going to have all that energy sent our way, and definitely download something like Aurora Watch UK. I'm sure there are probably other apps if you're elsewhere in the world, but definitely download some apps and keep an eye on things, because it is absolutely fantastic. It's such a spectacle, and I felt like it was a really connecting moment. Like, we're looking at everybody's photos afterwards, knowing that everybody had been outside looking up at the sky all together and capturing these amazing pictures, and everyone could chat about it. It was something really positive. It definitely felt like a really spiritual moment as well. It felt like there was something really special going on, and that some information perhaps was being passed to us, and just, I don't know, it felt like a watershed. It felt like life before the Aurora and life afterwards almost. I would love to have that experience again. I would like to go to somewhere like Norway, where you are further up north, you know, you're nearer the Arctic Circle or in it, and you can actually see it a lot more clearly with the naked eye, and you can see it dance and move like that because you're closer to the pole, which is obviously magnetic. It would be nice to see it in its full glory. Again, you could have easily missed it. If you're walking back from the pub and you weren't knowing to look out for it, you might look at the sky, maybe have seen that as cloud. You would be forgiven in thinking that there was nothing really going on. But once you knew, and once you looked, and you looked carefully, you could actually see, and it was fantastic. And it did improve as it got darker, and as it got, it was already dark, but as the night went on. So it had just sort of, for us, we'd seen it just after 11, like maybe 11:15, somewhere around that time. And then Al came over, I think about 11:30. And then I would say about 12:30, it seemed to be at its peak. And then as we got closer to 1 o'clock, it was sort of diminishing. It didn't look as good to the naked eye. It was still there. If you'd taken photos, you would have got colours up. But yeah, absolutely fantastic. I've waited 43 years to see that. Nearly. I'm in my 43rd year. I'll be 43 in July. And yeah, it was really, really interesting. It was a really interesting night as well. I don't know if that was just my anticipation, but it felt like it was really warm. It was a really warm evening. It had been a warm day, but not to give you like that level of warm in the evening. And the animals were just being really weird on the farm. It was very noisy. There was a lot going on that night. It was a very energetic night. You could feel that, definitely. So the weather's been really, really weird the last few days. We did have 22 degrees like last week. It was glorious. And now it's grey. It's actually cold. I'm wearing a jumper. It's only a thin jumper. I've got a vest on underneath, and I could do with another jumper on, to be honest. It's cold in here, and it's been like that for a few days. Like, I've been cold in bed. We have got the window open now, but over in our part of the house, where for some reason our bedroom and the room below are just, it's like a fridge. We've got 2 duvets on our bed still, and that is like not too hot. And I get hot at night as well. So I would say that the cooler temperatures are more comfortable. Obviously 11 degrees after a few days of, you know, warm sunny weather is not as bad as 11 degrees in the winter where it's just been cold continuously. But yeah, it needs to brighten up a little bit. We got all excited last week when we had blue skies and lovely sort of 20 degrees weather. That's just sort of like quite balmy for me. I still need a cardigan, but it's just sort of comfortable, or I can wear one layer that's long sleeved. But yeah, we just got used to that, and now we've been plunged back into chilly weather. I did manage to get out for a little walk this week when there was a moment where it was not raining, and it was cold, but once you started walking you felt much warmer, so it was lovely. I managed to see these swans, so I went out looking for some elderflower. I wanted to make my own version of elderflower Turkish delight, so I've been playing with recipes this week, and yeah, it's going to be over on Patreon because it's taken quite a bit of work. So if you would like my recipe and you would like to learn how to make it, it's actually really easy. It's easier than I thought. You don't need a great amount of skill. So yeah, check that out. That will be coming up on Patreon in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, I saw this beautiful swan. I'm not sure if it's a cob, which is a male, or a pen, which is a female. The cob will sit on the nest in laying season. Now, I don't know when that is. Maybe I should have looked that up, but the cob will sit on the nest during laying season, and then once the female swan has laid all her eggs, so she's got her clutch, as it is called, a clutch, then the female will incubate those continuously, and she will turn the eggs from time to time. So they're quite interesting swans. Go and have a read up about them. They mate for life, for example, you know, providing one of them doesn't get sick. That to me sounds like if one of them gets sick, then the other one goes, I'm off, which is not particularly nice, but they will mate for life, and they apparently keep the same nest. So the ones that I'm seeing on this particular nest, or around this nest, are the swans that I saw a year ago on that particular nest. I didn't know this. I grew up directly opposite a canal, and I mean like literally opposite. Our house overlooked, so we had our house here, a road, and then on the opposite side of the road there was a bank and the canal. So I grew up opposite the canal, and I have to say, I can't remember seeing any swan nests, but I guess perhaps, you know, the ages I would have been walking along the canal with my parents, I probably didn't know what to look out for. But I would have thought they might have pointed it out. Maybe they did and I've just forgotten. But it wasn't until I moved here that I have started to see swans' nests. And I've seen 2 this week. So those nests have been there for as long as those swans have been there, and will continue to be there, provided obviously people leave them alone. The one that I saw this week, that's set way back from, it's basically an old stretch of canal. It's not a working canal now, and it's been broken up into pieces and part of it's missing, but it's opposite the canal path, set back quite a bit, so I imagine that will be there for a long time to come. The other one that I've seen is down at Rutland Water, and you can get quite close to it, and we got a picture of the swan that was on that one, but we kept our distance. But we've seen other people like go over the fence or over the gate that it's right by, and basically go right up to which is just wrong. It's, you know, you've got to give animals their space. This is their planet as well. It's not about our photograph. I find that quite entitled. It upsets me. But anyway, magically speaking, I associate swans with grace, elegance, poise, being kind of regal, patience, love, fidelity, loyalty. You know, they mate for life. They work together. So teamwork, care, family, soulmates, attraction, and definitely cooperation and coordination. So we think of the pen and the cob working together to lay these eggs, to have these eggs on a nest and to look after them. In Celtic lore, they were seen as quite a mystical animal, representing transformation, shape-shifting, spiritual rebirth, sacrifice and resilience. So I think that some types of swans, when the pen is on the nest and she has her eggs that she's incubating, she won't get off and go and eat. I know that some of them will briefly get off and preen their feathers and feed and that, but on the whole, once their clutch is there in its entirety, the pen will be on that and will incubate that continuously. So yeah, these themes of resilience, determination, sacrifice. General associations made with swans. Well, if you think about a swan, what do you think about? There is that idea of like calm in the face of pressure. So if you think about the swan being all graceful and elegant, but underneath the little legs are swimming like mad, there's also this idea of a swan song, which comes from folklore, this idea that when, you know, someone dies, a swan will sing. Also these ideas of devotion, monogamy, beauty, romance, purity and innocence because of the colour, I guess, and just magic, really. Swans are just seen as quite magic. So I wondered if you've seen any interesting animals this week, or any interesting animal behaviour, or some element related to animals that you've been really, really privileged to see. I'd love to know. Let me know in the comments. Something else that I wanted to show you is our little baby oak. So out for a walk this week when the weather was nice, and my husband went to see if he could find the little oak tree that he planted. He's a guerrilla planter. He likes to grow oaks and chestnuts in pots at home, and then we'll go out and plant them. Sorry, there's a bit of noise going on. We've got contractors in doing the garden. We don't have our lovely Dave anymore. He's not on the cemetery. So we've got contractors until the new guy comes in. But anyway, going back to oaks. So he planted this in February last year, and now it's about this tall. It's got some really, really lovely leaves on it. It's really, really healthy looking, and hopefully it will survive without being destroyed in some way or dug up. It's got plenty of light, plenty of space. So I started thinking about oak because my birthday's coming up, and my birthday actually falls in the month of oak. So if you take a look at the Celtic tree Ogham, mine is actually the oak. So obviously oaks represent all the sort of stable, determined toughness. It's a very sort of thick trunked tree, isn't it? It's stable, it has strength, it has determination, if you think of it growing from an acorn. And they are associated with longevity, with growth, with endurance, reliability. It's not like the elder, for example, which is sort of reasonably short-lived. Yes, they pop up and will grow absolutely anywhere, but their lives in relation are relatively short. So yeah, I've been absolutely loving magical correspondences at the moment, and again, it's really important that you understand that you don't have to take the ones that are in books. So when Scott Cunningham is giving you magical correspondences for plants, yes, by all means use them. This is pattern magic, when we use the magical correspondences and spells and charms and things that other people use, but we are perfectly entitled to make our own. These are the relationships, these are the connections we form with our tools, with our environment, with plants, with all sorts of magical things. Yes, obviously using the magic of others. So for example, associating roses with love. Lots of people have done that over many hundreds of years, and that creates a very strong energetic like track or groove in the universe, and it's very easy and quick to slip into the kind of the energy of that. But if you associate roses with heartbreak, and I was explaining this to someone in the week, it's no good using roses for a self-love spell. because you associate them with heartbreak. So when you're dealing with magical correspondences, when you're listening to me or you're reading them in a book or whatever, think about your own feelings towards that particular thing. It might be that you don't have any feelings at all. There might be a plant or something that you personally haven't worked with, you don't know the energy of, but maybe you want to write about that. You know, you want to write about it magically, or you do want to start using it, and you want to be open to some of the experiences of other people, of the energy of that particular plant. Then it is no problem falling back on the magical correspondences of others. But just be aware that they will be different from practitioner to practitioner, and that is not in any way wrong. That is not wrong. So have a look on the Celtic tree Ogham and see what your tree is. I would love to know. I feel like the oak is actually quite a fair representation of me. I'm quite determined, I'm quite a stable person, I'm quite safe and trustworthy. I hope that's how I feel that I am, and that's what I work towards. And I have definitely grown, and I'm definitely very determined. So that feels like it is a good match for me. I definitely in the next couple of months want to concentrate on the Ogham a bit and see. And I know that people have different opinions on the Ogham, that's come up before, but it's just a fun thing. But yeah, I'd like to have a look at some of the people around me and see if I connect in with, you know, how they're supposed to be. I'm really sorry if you can hear the strumming. We're just going to have to carry on, I think, because this is my only opportunity to film the Witching Week. So there's two products that I've really enjoyed using this week. One of them I've actually shown you before. It's the Magick Micellar Water by Raw Eden Beauty Apothecary. Now, my friend Lucy, she gave this to me quite a few months ago for me to try, and it is still going strong. It still smells lovely. It's been properly made, so it will be safe to use over several months, but I can't get over this. It's nearly run out now, so I'm going to need to reinvest in another bottle. But it cleanses, it tones, and it hydrates, and yeah, it moisturizes definitely. So I love this. I absolutely love this. Lucy and her shop are based down in Wickham in Hampshire, so I think that's fairly near Fareham. I think it's a few miles from Fareham, and she makes the most incredible products. She makes items for magical practice as well, so she makes things like Florida water, but she also does a skincare range, so go and check her out. She's very, very talented. She actually has a physical shop where they have an actual apothecary in. It is an apothecary. There are herbs there for teas and you could use them for spells and stuff like that. She also sells curiosities, little witchy bits and bobs, and this is testament to how good her products are. This is rose water and orange blossom. I absolutely adore the smell of this, and I personally don't do anything related to rose at all, ever. It gives me a headache usually, and the smell just makes me feel a bit sick, but this is absolutely incredible. So check out her products. I promise you will not be disappointed. There's very few people that I actually fully endorse, and Lucy is 100% one of them. The other thing that I've been using this week that I really have enjoyed is this hair food by Garnier, and it's actually a vegan formula, which is really unusual for one of these sorts of companies. It is a hair food, it's called, banana and coconut shampoo. I've been using the conditioner as well, and they've got a hair mask as well, but I haven't used that one. But I have been really loving this. Banana and coconut are like my two favourite smells ever, and also two of my favourite flavours ever. Not that I'm suggesting that you eat this, but yeah, absolutely fantastic. I have got more to talk about, but outside my window I have somebody strimming. I wonder if I should just wait a minute. It's going to be loud, so I think I need to just carry on, unfortunately. I was going to talk about Litha next. It's only 4 weeks away now. The festivals are coming round super quick, and I think for me as well, because I'm always working a month ahead because of Patreon, so that everybody's got what they need to celebrate each festival. I'm through the year already nearly. It's really strange. We're soon going to be talking about Samhain at this rate. So I thought we'd look at the Holly King and the Oak King, the brothers' battle for the crown of the year. Currently the Oak King rules, but not for too much longer. Then the Holly King will win the crown, or will he? We'll have to see, won't we? There'll be a battle. The Oak King is quite often depicted as the Green Man, and the Holly King looks more like Father Christmas. And I love this idea, but I just wanted to point out to those that aren't aware that there are several versions of this story. So some people tell the version that on the solstices, so we have the summer solstice, Litha, coming up, that's when they have their battle, and that is when the winner is crowned king for the next part of the year until they have their next battle at the following solstice. Now, there are variations on this. Some people think that they have their battle, or they don't think, but they tell their story. They have their battle on the solstice, and then there is like a handover period, and then at the equinox, that is when they are crowned. So in this case, the Oak King and the Holly King will have their battle at Litha, and then the Holly King will be crowned at the autumn equinox sometime after, which kind of makes sense, doesn't it? Like, the Queen died and King Charles became king, but he wasn't officially crowned until a little while after that in an official ceremony. So it's a bit like that. Other people see it that the solstice is the peak of their reign. So the summer solstice is the peak of the Oak King's reign, and then there is a period of downfall. So between the solstice and the equinox, things are becoming difficult, things are not quite right, there are battles, there are arguments, there is unrest, and then at the equinox, the battle happens, or there's a battle at some point, and then at the equinox that king is crowned and takes his place for the rest of the year until the next period of disruption. So there are many variations on this theme, and the same goes for lots of folk stories. So if you're coming across any of these stories on your travels, through books or going to events and hearing these stories, or reading stuff on the internet, just be aware that there are several stories. But yeah, we've entered that part of the year nearly where the Oak King and the Holly King are going to battle it out. And yeah, there is somebody right outside with a strimmer. They are about 4 meters from where I'm sat, excluding the wall. So, which version do you prefer of this story? Oh, there's actually 2 men out there. I wonder if they're going to notice me filming. Possibly not. They're not really, they haven't been tuned into the fact that there's someone living here. Anyway, let's do some cards now. Let's shuffle some cards. I did give these a little shuffle. I made an intention before I started this video. Sorry, I'm just being put off by the 3 men. Yes, hello. There's 3 of them out there. There's actually 3 of them out there. It's absolutely chucking it down with rain. So they're going to be covered in wet grass. They're just basically strimming around all the cemetery stones. So they do the gardens in a big sit-on, ride-on mower, and then they do around the stones with individual strimmers. So that's why it was so noisy. I'm so sorry. That is all par for the course when you live on a cemetery. Okay, so I've picked 3 cards today. Feels like it should be 3. We've got the 2 of Swords, we've got the 2 of Pentacles, and we have got the 7 of Wands. Yeah, and I feel like this is actually very reflective of the energy that we are feeling at the moment. So we've got 2 cards of 2, so there are definite themes of balance coming up. You know, are you doing things in a balanced way? Are you working a little bit out of kilter? The Two of Pentacles is all about working smarter and not harder. It also draws your attention to the fact that it's all very well and good you juggling these balls, but actually what happens when you drop one of those? So it's time to take a little look at perhaps your life as a whole, or maybe working practices, maybe you're self-employed like me. You need to find ways to work smarter, not harder. And sometimes we can like really get stuck in a loop where we are just absolutely driving ourselves into the ground because we haven't taken a step back and thought about this. You know, we are just caught there in that infinite moment of juggling. And when you're juggling like that, because things are so busy and you're spinning all these plates and you're doing this, it's really easy to get stuck there forever, isn't it? Until something catastrophic happens and you drop one of those plates. So definitely a time to have a little look at what's going on in your life and finding that balance. And part of that is uniting your head and your heart and taking off any kind of like self-imposed blindfolds, and just weighing everything up. I mean, I know it's old-fashioned, but writing a good old-fashioned pros and cons list never did anyone any harm. I find it a really good way actually to make decisions sometimes, to work something out, because when you write it out on paper, you do actually have an actual physical difference in the writing sometimes. So yeah, it's easy to think that there might be more cons to something than there are pros, but when you actually see it written out on paper and you've got one list that's much longer than the other, it can sometimes help you come to a decision. Also, I think some of the struggles that some of us are having this week is because of other people. This as well is usually a problem for those of us who might be self-employed and are really good at something. It might be that you're employed as well, but people start to challenge you. People start to challenge you, especially if they see you've got a lot on. People that can see you're good at something will often want to ruin that. And this isn't supposed to be a negative reading by any means, but the tarot does get us to look honestly at things and gets us to think about why we might be encountering issues if we are. And the Seven of Wands is very much about standing your ground and very much about attracting sometimes people that are they might be jealous, or they just might be a bit envious of who you are and the way you go about things and being successful at things. So there's definitely some energy I have felt in recent months from a couple of people. So the only way is to stand your ground. So this is very instructional this week, isn't it? It's less about looking at possibilities, but more about, right, this is what you've got to do, this is what you've got to do, this is what you've got to do. So balance, huge theme. Balance, where is it in your life? Do you have it? Is it out of kilter? What can you do to redress that balance? So themes of redressing here. Also considering some of the stresses and strains you might be under are as a result of other people. Stand your ground. Stand your ground. These people will get bored, and it's likely because you're really good at something that you are experiencing these challenges by others. And then use your intuition, but also use your head and your heart combined. Write a pros and cons list, be honest, and give everything a good analysis. Look everything over and remove any self-imposed blindfolds. Put your weapons down, drop your defense a little bit while you work through all this stuff, and take your blindfold off, and then you might be able to navigate these stormy seas a little bit easier. And then just let's have a look at the card underneath the deck. So we've got the Eight of Pentacles. So keep working at it. Whatever it is that's difficult right now, that's throwing up all these challenges, keep working at it. You will master it. It will become much more easy. You know, some of these challenges will subside and it will get easier. And I always say that nothing that is ever worth having is easy. And it is so true. It's so true. The things that we really, really want, or the things that are really worth us having, always take some element of work or effort. So yeah, that is our reading for the week. I'm sorry about the noise in the middle of that video or towards the end. I was like nice and relaxed and enjoying that until there were people outside. It's really difficult with a window here. It does put you off, but that's where all your light comes from. And I'm at eye level, you know, I'm not upstairs, I'm downstairs because it's a public place. People are often walking around the building, so it can be a little bit off-putting. So yeah, that's it for the witching week. I'm so sorry I wasn't here last week, and I know the one before, I apologise for not being there the week before that. I will do my best this week to be here. It has been a very, very challenging couple of weeks. And it's a wonder I'm still going, really, to be honest, with any of this. It's been so difficult. Like what did I just say? Anything worth having is not easy sometimes. So on that note, I'm wishing you a fantastic week. I'll be back next week. In the meantime, look after yourselves and each other. Sending you lots of love and blessings. All right, bye.